Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Gakyu. Songs are from an EP, but meant to be watched together as a musical. So we are going to watch this. This is going to be our second EP reaction little test thing that we're doing. We have a full EP here, 6 tracks long, I believe. It is called Where Does Sasquatch Live? From the artist Zior Park. We'll be breaking this down, I suppose, track by track, generally. We'll see where that takes us. We'll definitely have a break after the first track, though, to discuss what's going on here, I guess, visually and audio-wise. I don't have a track listing at the moment, but I'll pull one up when I bring up the lyrics for discussion there. Let's dive in, see what's going on here.
We are halfway there now. How will this story end? Will he give in to his dreams? Or will he reject the power of the world and trust in what he believes in until the very end? He's quite pitiful, really. I do not want him to become a villain, as he was once a sweet boy. On the outside, he might look a little bit scary. But in this world, honesty is also synonymous with evil. Can he find an answer in the darkened problems of the world? And when he finds it, can he escape?
Hey, did you hear the news? Hey, no, she came back to the town.
Oh, let's see. She was ripped and torn by the media last time, right?
Yeah, she was. But sometimes bad comments and mockings could be beneficial for this generation. I think she's using that system. She loves the spotlight whether it's good or bad.
Okay, then let's check the comeback, girl. Yeah!
I found the Sasquatch, I think. Is that the end of the show?
I don't wanna be pretty, yeah. I just wanna be iconic. I've got no time to care of haters who try to stop me. I'm addicted to dopamine. Spotlight makes me feel catharsis. Enjoying debates and hatred. Need a stronger stimulation. Dress up like a girl, you may feel like wrong. You may feel uncomfortable. To my look, it's different from what you've done. We stop in the phone. We're meant to meet again, keys. In the midst of the pointing fingers, our rain is the ripped and torn. Queen, my queen, your niece. They don't know what they need. Forgive 'em, my queen. Conceal your schemes and skin. My queen, your niece. Don't reveal your knowledge. Conceal it, learn it. Your skin.
Solo piano over here is kind of interesting.
Always have to be sensitive. I'm browsing eyes and magazine for the new shoes, for the new pants, for the new trends. Don't let my to get out. I saw the queen from the bottom. You never get it, but you will serve it. Are you gonna be freaked out again when kingdom comes? Queen from the bottom. Are you gonna be freaked out again when kingdom comes?
That's a nice addition. The arpeggiation over here. All right, take a stop here. I actually don't have a lot to dig into on this track. The verse is pedal tone. There might be a dyad in there. It might be octave harmony, actually. Now that I think about it, it just feels so singular to me. But there are multiple voicings, so octave probably matches that. Just dun 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 dun. It's just this constant pace, and then just holding out this one note across the entirety of it. We have a very light hi-hat based drum part in the background that's helping keep the rhythm, but honestly the single chord is giving us the pulse and cadence of this section. We have the vocals on top of that, which have some more interesting accent points within it, whereas the original chord is just on downbeat accents. There's some syncopation on the vocal line. It's a bit bouncier, and it explores a variety of notes rising and falling in pitch. So that's pretty much the verse there. We have foundation, rhythm, and melody, literally one of each idea. It's about as minimal as you can get while capturing the trifecta of musical information. From here we go into the chorus, and this is interesting because it gives us a bit of a theatricality. We have some very cool walk downs and walk ups chordally that we don't typically hear within the rock sound. It's not rock, the pop sound. I'd say that this brings in a little bit of a, it's vaguely classical. The inspiration is there, but I don't think you would ever hear anything quite like this in a majority of classical music. But I think the purpose behind it, as well with the loud and projected vocals on top of these really big hits, it's regal. It's very majestic, the chords, but there's also bombast to it as well. It's projected, it's loud, it's theatric. You can't ignore it. Not that I would call the verse muted in any way, but as smaller as that is, coming into this chorus is a massive contrast, especially with its use of space. You have bum, 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 bum. And it's those gaps between the notes that really feel like it's a type of procession here. There is something calculated, there's something choreographed here. It feels important. There's the punctuation of everything, and everything's not just slurring together. It is very precise in how it is stated. This is another thing that I think when you pair with the larger than life grandiose elements, it just adds to that regal feeling. And of course, the lyrics in there are something about a queen and feeling like a queen or being a queen or something along those lines. The track, I think, is called Queen. If that opening title card, it was actually for the track itself. I think all of this ties together into a very clear pop culture idea of what regal or music of a monarchy would be like within a pop lens. And I think it captures that really well. It is a little empty though. We have this piano part over here during the first two choruses, and it's fine, but it's also kind of weird. Its accent points are not with the rest of everything else that's going on in this chorus, and it's just kind of lonely out on the side. All the other instruments are center wide, not just directly in the middle, but kind of take up the majority of the sound sphere. And they're all unified. And then you just have this rogue piano, just 2 notes, a lead in into a downbeat accent. And it's just way off to the side and by itself. No one's joining in on it. Despite being a polyphonic instrument, it's just 1 note at a time. So I don't really understand its inclusion here unless it's designed to create the feeling of exclusion. But I did really enjoy how it was balanced out in that final chorus by bringing in the electric guitar arpeggiating up and down on the side over here. I thought that worked really well alongside the chords that were presented. I wish we could have had that with the full chorus. Instead, we just had these big chords being hit when he said, "My queen, my queen, my queen," and these were where the big chords landed. And then our chords shifted where they normally would have during the full chorus, but we didn't have all the walk down with them. We kind of lost the procession for a general pop finale. So we kind of gave up complexity in the center, but added complexity by adding this arpeggiation off to the side. All in all, though, I would say that this track is digestible. It's very dancey. It is a bit on the minimalistic side, but it does a great job at creating theme and atmosphere, creating a song that feels like it is evoking the musical concepts of regalness, of queenliness, of power and presence. It's a fine track, and I think it does what it sets out to do. Let's hit some lyrics on this one, see what's going on there. All right, here we have a hype track, a song where our vocalist is hyping themselves up as something pretty interesting, something that people need to look towards. It says that they enjoy the spotlight, it gives them catharsis, that they enjoy going online even if the haters try to stop them because they get stimulation from both debates and the hatred. The chorus presents himself as a queen. People ask them, "Forgive me, my queen," and other people tell the queen to conceal your schemes and skin, to keep some stuff close to your chest. The post-chorus talks about how there is no separation between this queen persona, if you will, and who they really are. It says that they can't take the dress off and they can't remove the makeup even if it's already smudged on. This is just them. It says that they're a queen who rose up from the bottom. And is everyone else going to be freaked out when the kingdom comes? So he basically says, I've come from nothing. I've climbed my way to the top here. That's what this track is about. Just being a person who craves the spotlight in online culture. It's about someone who vies for the popularity of social media, while also being a song about just being yourself. Knowing that who you are is good enough and that you can climb to the top without having to change who you are. Talks about how this person likes to dress up in specific ways. We've already brought on the makeup element. Says that they like to wear dresses. It says that other people feel awkward or uncomfortable about it, but that's on them. That our singer here isn't going to change the way that they are. The pre-chorus to the second chorus, I think it is, says a wig and heels, a lipstick and a weird smile, but they're quite working at this table. Let me hear your blessing. Let me hear your retching. I think that's interesting. Some people are really going to enjoy this person's presence and other people are going to find it revolting. And he says, I want to hear all of it. As mentioned earlier, they're addicted. They get stimulation through both debate and hatred, the positive elements of online culture and the negative elements. They just thrive off of attention. I'm kind of torn about this track. On the one hand, it is a song that says be yourself and prove everyone else wrong. I can absolutely get behind that message. The other half, though, seems to be all of the worst elements of the TikTok culture and the strive for relevance and popularity, because all that matters is attention, craving attention. I don't think I can necessarily support that message. I do find it really interesting that I've saved this one verse. It's the second one. It says, I'm always browsing Eyes magazine for the new shoes, for the new pants, for the new trends. I can't let myself get old. I sold the normal life for the gold and diamonds. Controversy is a must for these young customers. We have someone who considers themselves a trendsetter, but only ever follows the trends of Eyes magazine. They let people tell them what is hip, what is new, what kind of shoes and pants they should be wearing. It says that they traded a normal life for the gold and diamond. And this part doesn't feel as positive to be who you are. You must chase new things because that's the only thing that sells. You must have new trends. You can't let yourself be old. You must drive up controversy because that's what young customers want. And this is said with positivity, as if this is a good thing, but it seems to counter the entire theme of be who you are and excel that way without changing yourself. It's possible that they always wanted to chase trends, but I also think that if they are a trendsetter, they should be setting the trends themselves. I don't know, it's a really strange verse, but it's one stanza out of 8, so I don't know how much I really want to lean into it, but between that and the gotta be popular no matter what kind of Instagram positivity stuff on here, like the worst parts of social media being exalted and held up, I'm really torn on this track. It has a cool message and then a message I don't really want to promote on the channel, so... But I think the song does capture all of this really well. All right, moving on. I do have some titles here. I couldn't find a series of tracks on any EP that matched these, and there's only 6 tracks, and Zior Park does have... Wait, why did I pull that one up? That's from yesterday. Does have 2 Where Does Sasquatch Live albums. There's a part 1 and a part 2. So between the 2 of them, I'm sure that these 6 tracks are found in there somewhere, but like Empty, couldn't find one. There is one with the word hero in it, but there's no track just called Hero. I didn't find anything called Rocket. So I'm going to be listening to them first and then trying to match the lyrics up on Genius to figure out what lyrics I should be looking at, because the lyrics are in the closed caption down here. Probably can't see it on phones, but if you're watching on a larger device, you should be able to read it. So I actually don't know where all of this comes from, though, which is kind of interesting. That'll be something I look forward to figuring out as we get through the rest of this EP. All right, let's dive into the next one, which I believe I said was called Empty.
Hey, why are you crying?
I can no longer believe in others.
Yeah, keeping relationship is getting tougher these days. There always must be a sacrifice on one side. The thing is, there's nothing you can do. How about this idea? Just live your own life, stick to your life plan. If you feel that you need friends, that means your plan needs them. Oh, so I brought someone who will teach us to dance and sing. Look there!
Bye, bye, bye.
Hi, everyone. Isn't life hard? My life has been hard lately. Ooh, why not sing a song together during times like this?
Everybody's living, I can't feel nothing. This room is empty. Why are you still here? Are you coming with me? Are you living like all of them? Everybody's laughing, I can't hear nothing. Your words are empty. Why are you still here? You coming with me? Are you living like all of them? Like bye 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 bye. Can you be my friend, not a fan? Girl, can you stay when I'm in pain? Honestly, I'm in the music. You can live whenever you want. Girl, can you prove your loyalty? I'm just checking if you the same like them are saying. That once told me, trust nobody. Be a fisherman, keep it loaded, and you'll be fine if
Very
you wear the bait.
Maroon 5 gym class heroes.
Use them all, don't be friends with them, son. Use your brain, do not follow your heart. I thought he was a cold-blooded dude, but now I get why I said all that. Everybody's living, I can't feel nothing. This room is empty.
A little bit of
the
21 Pilots or something like that.
Are you living like all of them? Everybody's laughing, I can't hear nothing. Your words are empty. Why are you still here? You coming with me? Are you living like all of them? Like bye 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 bye.
Interesting production on that.
All my sacrifices to think that they ain't no days. All my favors and blood to think it was worth it. I felt like all twofold and low in my giddy. 'Cause he's the only friend who knows my sacred. Hello, are you listening? I know. Don't look at me like that. Look around, I'm the only person I can talk to. I have another meeting with the devil here. After you, after
Yeah.
you. For me that you better than him.
Very cool
Forget a
rhythmic
social
cadence
for
there.
this circumstance. Truly, I want you to say. Everybody's living, I can't feel nothing. This room is empty. Why are you still here? You coming with me? Are you living like all of them? Everybody's laughing, I can't hear nothing. Your words are empty. Why are you still here? You coming with me? Are you living like all of them?
Bye, 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 bye. Trying to disconnect from all these hypocrite goddamns. Keep me awake in the system. One night of sleep to keep distance. Mask up the
Interesting here. A similar-ish sound in general, but less minimal.
Everybody's living, I can't feel nothing. This room is empty. Why are you still here? You coming with me? Are you living like all of them? Everybody's laughing, I can't hear nothing. Your words are empty. Why are you still here? You coming with me? Are you living like all of them? Like bye 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 bye
All right. Fairly straightforward track through most of that. It is a bittersweet song. If you listen to the chord progression, you're going to find something a little more somber. I'm not necessarily going to call it sad, but it is weightier. It is heavier. This is contrasted pretty heavily with the syncopation and the rhythmic devices in the song, in the lead melody. There's a lot of bouncy, catchy ideas in here, and the entire bye 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 chorus part is very catchy. That is infectious. I fear it's going to be stuck in my head for the rest of the day. It just has that rhythmic cadence to it, and of course it's one syllable, so it's really easy to remember the words to. But when you listen to this, and you also include in the fact that there's bells all throughout this track, a very bright and vibrant sound that pierces through everything else, you have these more joyous elements, whether it's a texture or a sound or a rhythm that's dancey. It kind of pushes against this general weight and gloominess that the chord progression is presenting, and we get this duality there, and that makes up a majority of what this track is, from the verse to the pre-chorus to the chorus. It really wasn't until the bridge when I felt any sort of change at all, and I think a lot of that came from an expansion of sound. When the second vocalist came in, the silver-haired vocalist, this introduced more instrumentation too. This track, much like the previous one, is fairly minimal in composition. Up until this point, we had additional rhythmic devices, we had additional instrumentations, we had a horn part that I wish would have stuck around for more than the one, maybe two times that we heard it. And the vocal part was it right before this part or right after or during this part? Either way, we began to introduce a more almost spoken word, kind of sing-songy rapped vocal cadence. And I thought this was very nice, pushing away from the rhythmically bouncy singing into something a bit quicker paced, trying to inject a feeling of intensity through speed, or maybe anticipation, trying to get somewhere more quickly. This with the additional instrumental layers, new rhythmic devices, I thought this was a fresh way to liven up the song without completely deviating from the original instrumentation and ideas. It felt like a natural expansion, and I was a bit whelmed when we just returned back to the usual pre-chorus and chorus to wrap the track up. It felt like the song reached its peak, and instead of staying at it to wrap the song up, it brought it back down. But given the lyrics I did pick up about people leaving, which was also part of the skit prior to the song coming in, and feeling alone, the idea of reaching an emotional peak and then returning back down to a baseline might actually be what they were aiming for. The energy in Queen worked really well too, with the rising and falling elements, which chronicled the rising in power that our narrator saw themselves having. And it's quite possible that this song kind of being the same energy all the way through, and then ramping up in the bridge to bring it back down to that baseline sound in the final chorus, is lining up with the narrative of this track. But other than that, I mean, once again, we have a fairly straightforward pop song that focuses on fundamentals over everything else. It is an atmosphere first track designed to create an emotional state for a story to be told within. And once that emotional state has been created, that's it. There's not much expansion on it. There's not much deviation, or there's no progressive elements to this. I think the most interesting thing I've heard between these two tracks so far is the shifting instrumental choice, which is pretty common for pop and electronic music in general. Every song having its own palette of timbres to play with. But otherwise, if we break this down just to composition, we have another track that has a foundational idea, has a rhythmic device, and then has a melody. And occasionally we'll have embellishing elements. A lot of that is vocal. We will have backup vocal lines. Vocals will repeat or harmonize or have an echo or a delay to them. A lot of vocal things in here to add extra things to listen to, but nothing that drastically changes my relationship to what I'm hearing. It doesn't put me in a different mindset or evolve the concept they're exploring. It's there just for a little bit of extra oomph, so it doesn't stay as stagnant across the entire runtime. Which, speaking of the runtime, I guess just the last thing I want to say it felt long for a pop track. The first one also kind of lended itself to this a little bit, but I felt like, I don't know, it wasn't something that stood out to me as much. This one felt like an incredibly long song. And I think a lot of that is that the pre-chorus and chorus combined take up a lot of time. It's like 45 to 50 seconds to do the pre-chorus, which feels very chorusy to me, and then the bye 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 part. And we did that 3 times. That's 3 minutes of chorus right there. Then we still had 3 verses to get through, or 2 verses and a bridge. And the verses and bridge took some time too. So it's a song where we end up staying within a relatively small amount of ideas and a fairly unchanging atmosphere for a long time. There's just not a lot of dynamics in here, which probably, again, fit for a song that seems to be about being sad and lonely. A lack of environmental or atmospheric changes fits what I think the song is about. And I suppose on that note, we should dive into the lyrics and see what's going on there. Okay, so first of all, this track has 4 choruses in it. It takes up so much of the runtime. The song is close to 6 minutes long. I guess more like 5 minutes long, which is still pretty lengthy for a pop track like this that just doesn't have a lot of depth to it. It is certainly a song about feeling lonely, but that loneliness stems from people who you thought you could trust turning their backs on you. The chorus states, everyone's leaving. Why are you still here? Are you leaving like all of them? It says everybody is laughing, but are you like all of them? And then the refrain comes after that and says, bye, 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 which is a really interesting thing to put after that question. Are you going to leave like everyone else? Kind of putting the onus on them that they can make a difference. They can actually be your friend rather than someone who leaves at the drop of a hat. And instead of waiting for an answer, he just says bye-bye over and over and over again. I think if that last sentence hadn't have been added there and just implied that everybody left and everybody laughed at him and that no one was here, the bye-bye could be a way of coping, of dealing with this. It feels really interesting to have somebody left, maybe physically, maybe figuratively, and immediately saying goodbye. As if making that choice for them. Are you going to leave like all of them? Bye-bye. And I don't get the feeling of that through the vocal delivery of these lines, but it is what I feel is implied by the poetry of it. The first verse says, can you be my friend and not a fan? This is a wild statement because I don't think that is possible. If somebody knows you because of your artistry, I think it's really difficult not to have that power division of creator to fan. Maybe it can get eroded away with years of friendship, but it's not something that you can just pick somebody out of a crowd. Hey, do you want to be my friend? Like, no, it's just not going to work. Their fandomness, their admiration of you is going to precede that, the friendship in that moment. And I think this is why a lot of popular people tend to not have an easy time making friends. It says, but will you stay when I'm in pain? You can leave whenever you want, though. It's a very interesting line to put there. It says, then can you prove your loyalty? I'm just checking. Because if you're the same as them, then I'm just going to say bye-bye. And like, I get it. And I'm also going out on a limb and saying English is probably not the lyricist's first language, but this feels very loaded and power dynamic-y. And I'm not a real big fan of these two stanzas in this verse. The next two stanzas talk about how his dad never believed in friends, never believed in anyone, letting anyone into your life. It says, trust nobody. Be a fisherman, but keep your net hidden and you'll be fine. Use them, but don't be friends with them. Use your brain, don't follow your heart. After this anecdote, the narrator says, I thought he was a cold-blooded dude, but now I get why he said all that. It's interesting, too. I don't know how old... Zior Park is the artist, I'm going to assume. I don't know how old they are. But I find it interesting that my dad, I remember him saying something similar to this, too. Something along the lines of, like, I don't have friends. I have people who haven't outlived their usefulness. Or something along those lines. I don't know if I really believed him when he said it. I thought he had friends. I don't know. You can't get into someone's head. So I don't know how he actually felt about these people he hung out with. But like, no, the takeaway should not be that loneliness and shutting yourself off is right. You can absolutely be hurt by people, but there's billions of people out there. Not every single one of them is aiming to use you or hurt you. Why would you? I don't know, dude. It's just, it feels very short-sighted to say, actually, yeah, living alone, there's something to that. And there is, closing yourself off, it's easier, it's safer, absolutely. But I feel like there's too much empathy being given to that perspective here. But I suppose this is just on a bias, subjective level. It's just another message I can't fully get behind. Verse 2 is really interesting too. It talks about how he is sacrificed and he's put his blood out there for his friends, but that no one has ever done that for him. It says that he feels like a tool for everyone else. But then it says, Lord, he might get it because he's the only friend I know, or the only friend who knows my secret. And coming from a southern U.S. state, throwing Lord in there in the middle or the beginning of a sentence always just kind of felt like a filler word. You weren't necessarily talking about God here, but it's just a way to give some extra emphasis. So I was like, okay, well, who's the he then? Who is this only friend that knows of his secret? Then he says, are you listening? Don't look at me like that. You're the only person I can talk to. And I have another meeting with the devil here after you. So we have the devil and we have Lord. And in the previous track, we talked about Kingdom Come, which fit really well with the Queen analogy, but it's also creating a heavily Christian-based imagery in these two tracks. Now, it is two isolated ideas. It could completely be coincidence here. I don't think it is strong enough, especially with the Kingdom Come line being a little bit of grasping at straws, but it's interesting how much Western, well, not really Western, I mean, Christianity is pretty big in the West, but it's an Eastern religion. Middle Eastern anyways. But anyways, how much of this is here? I don't know how big Christianity is in, I'm going to assume South Korea. I actually don't know. The language is Korean, but I might have to look into where this artist is from. I'm kind of curious about that though. I would not expect so much Christianity or Christian imagery to be showing up here. Now, whether this actually is the Lord and the devil, or just a person that he looks up to and a person that he looks down to, an enemy, a frenemy, maybe in this case, I suppose that's another way that we can look at it. Then it says, prove to me that you're better than him. I hope you get a solution for this circumstance because I want to stay here. And that's interesting too. He says, hey, I'm about to talk to the devil. And if you don't have a solution, I'm going to take up his. And the implication is that the devil's solution, whether that's a real person being spoken of as not someone who has our narrator's best interests at heart, or the literal devil, it's still, there's that threat there. If you can't come up with something better than him, I'm going to go with this idea, and it's probably not going to be a great one. He says, but I want to stay here. And that's interesting, because to me that reads like suicide. Then we have the bridge, which they label as a third verse, sung by Theon. It says, keep me awake in the system, one eye asleep to keep distance, masked up, they're all so attractive, friends and enemies all look the same. Very strange stanza here, but I think the idea is to not be divorced from the main social media systems or even physical social systems, the people around you, basically. But wanting to have distance from them because they can't tell the difference between people who want to uplift them and people who want to drag them down. It says that people cover their flaws in tattoos, but that the Sunday smiling faces eat away my value and I'm too scared to go to church. God, how am I supposed to love my neighbors? Once again, we have more Christian imagery here. It still feels very out of place to me. I don't know why. Maybe Christianity is pretty big in North or South Korea. Again, I got to look up where this person's from, but it's just not something that I associate with that region. He says that all my neighbors are a bunch of mannequins trying to cage my soul. That's the track right there. Yeah, I don't really get too much of the bounciness in here. I wonder if that's just because you got to make a pop song and they didn't want to make a ballad, so they got bouncy instead. I think the heavier, moodier atmosphere absolutely fits the loneliness of this track and the questioning of how to continue on as someone who doesn't feel like they'll ever have anyone who understands them. But this song only feels like it half relates to the track, and it doesn't really feel like dancing through the trauma either, because so much of this track is just, there's no hope in it at all. I don't know. Let's continue on then. This next one is labeled as Empty. No, that's the one we just did. This next one is labeled as Hero. And we have a little skit beforehand, I'm sure.
Damn. As I'm getting older, I see my dad's face more and more on myself.
Yeah, you're his son, stupid.
I know, but it feels like I'm linked with a younger version of him. I can feel his ambitions and struggles. Damn.
Oh, so you mean today's Father's Day?
Oh my God, stupid.
What a bizarre segue. Hero in the mirror. Okay, so it looks like we're going through the Where Does Sasquatch Live Part 2 EP.
My hero has been struggling for 10, 20, 30, or 40 years. I've heard him complaining about his life. All my life I was tired of history. Didn't know how valuable he was till I showed the picture of a man gripping soldier.
Nice to have a bass-driven section.
He was a hero once upon a time.
Sonically, aside from the writer chordal work, it feels very similar to the last track.
Whiskey, you've never known how to enjoy this. Why you been so mean to yourself? Do you really think the money can solve solve it. Then what if you get rich when you're dead, huh? Are you gonna be peaceful after that? You have to live the moment when you have to put down your soul. I know the word is cool, that's why I still hold the song for you. And even though I wish some of you better, you still don't know how to celebrate it. Stop thinking about the numbers just for now. Can you describe the town we're driving around now? You pass through a lot of landscapes, you don't know how to celebrate it. You get me rude, see the brand you get me into. You said that you fell about love. Here's your masterpiece, what you want more. You get me tools, see how I'ma use these tools. Don't worry, I got my dude. Let's finish it what we've been struggling for. Hero in the mirror, let go of yourself. Hero in the mirror, let go of yourself. After all this time, I can see your face on my face. I thought you still young, promised a lot. After all this time, I can feel the fever of this body that I've gotten from a hero in the mirror. You get me rude, see the brand you get me issued. You said that you fell about luck. Here's your masterpiece, what you want more. You get me tools, see how I'ma use these tools. Don't worry, now I got my dude. Let's finish it what we've been struggling for.
I'm gonna roll it into the next. I don't have much to add to
I'm
that track
ashamed
in
of
particular.
this generation because they always hide their rages and stresses and bring it back to their room and take it out when they're alone. But it's very dangerous. You can kill yourself. Don't do that, young man. Don't do that.
Right.
I found some bullets in my pocket, but got no gun. I wanna use it, but no matter what, I ain't even got no target. My family doesn't know me deep down. Sometimes I don't need them. The scar on my face is not that big, so they underrate.
Okay, this one does remind me of 21 Pilots. It has a very palatable darkness to it.
Panic is my friend. Usually it makes me heal a lot of time. I'm so light at this night like a vampire. I'm fine, mom, do the knock. Here's a fight and your versus the devil. I don't stand on any side. Laying on the floor, just want a bullet. Why is it here? Am I shot? Here's nobody in this room that knew this. A minute and just show myself. How did I use it? I didn't ever thought. Am I dying now? I was about to have some fun, but laying on the floor, just want a bullet. Why is it here? Am I shot? I can make different types of me. I'm a manufacturer. I can close my mouth all day for the people like a statue. I'm a pro killer to me, but these guys is an amateur. I'm a pro actor. My acting skills is a perspective. Oh, hello, little kitty. I'm talking to the ceiling. Where do I look like silly? Sometimes I miss a Vicky. I'm not sure about this feeling. I have bedtime. Maybe moonlight has a bad power. I'm so light at this night like a vampire. I'm fine, mom, do the knock. Here's a fight and your versus the devil. I don't stand on any side. Laying on the floor, just want a bullet. Why is it here? Am I shot? Here's nobody in this room that knew this. A minute and just show myself. How did I use it?
Am I the only one who sees a heavy schism between the words and the visuals? All right, so like I said, I didn't have a lot to say about the third track. It felt very similar to the second, but this one stands out. This is a bit of a darker, edgier track. It is a very palatable, poppy kind of darkness to sound that I've heard in bands like 21 Pilots. In fact, this song, if you had told me it was a 21 Pilots song, I might have just believed you on it. It's very close to what I associate with them, and I don't listen to a lot of 21 Pilots tracks, so I might have the wrong idea of who they are as an artist, but this is exactly what I think of, regardless of how accurate that actually is. This is also the closest I would say that this album has to a rock track. It's interesting that as a pop rock song, it is not what I would consider pop rock. It's more of pop music with an electric guitar and a lot of distortion across a lot of instruments. But I think that moodier feeling comes off of the two tracks ago rather well. And I kind of wish that they were pushed together a little better. We still have to look at Hero in the Mirror's lyrics, but we kind of started on a pretty big high, and then we dipped it down a little bit, then we went up to another high, then we brought it down, at least as far as emotional energy. I will say that this so far is an energetic peak for this album. The ending of this track is large and bombastic in a slightly different way than Queen was, though. This is very dance vibe, which I think is why in the music video they were having a rave. It's a very high energy song, even if harmonically it's focusing on darkness and weight. But it's not dancey like track 2 was. This one's just vibey. But you also have the vocalist singing these words out pretty loudly, very full-chested, fully projected, pretty big part. Part of that I do think is production side. I don't think I hear anything different in the timbre of the vocals. It just feels wider and larger, which is probably due to stacking and production more than a different delivery, as I mentioned. These two tracks are also incredibly short. I think both are shorter than the first two tracks. But once again, we're looking at music that is primarily atmospheric and minimal. How do we create something bright and slightly optimistic with a little bit of negativity in it? Well, you get a beat going, you put an atmosphere to it, you find a chord progression, and then you sing over it. And that's the third track. We need something that's moody and bite. Well, let's put an atmosphere that's a little darker in there. Let's get some moodier chords in there. Let's have vocals that dip with these chords, a lot of half-step downs to create this tension. And, you know, at the end of the track, we'll have an electric guitar in there. I did really love the electric guitar in the music video, strumming when no guitar was in the music. That was hilarious. But yeah, we'll throw an electric guitar at the end, and that'll give us that rock bite. And that means that we're here for business. We've got big plans here. I don't know. I don't think that this track is any more cynical about being a rocky pop track than anything else, and I don't think that it is any more cynical about the music than, say, a group like 21 Pilots, who sometimes uses distorted instrumentation and electric guitars in their music. But it always stands out to me as an interesting choice because it is there to evoke a pop culture idea more so than engage with an art form. And it does, I mean, much like hearing a violin in a symphonic metal song without the violin actually doing anything of interest, just being there for the flavor of its texture, of its tone, you know, that kind of sends me off too. If you're going to introduce some cool instrumentation, do some cool stuff with it. Bring in some stuff from where that instrument typically originates. Expand it out. If you want to write symphonic metal, bring some symphonic music into the fray. If you want to write a rocky pop song, bring some rock music into the fray. Don't just grab an electric guitar and then write pop music for it. I think it's fine in general. I'm not going to tell people they can or can't write stuff, but at the end of the day, why limit yourself? Why not expand out beyond what everyone else has done already? So, I don't know. That just didn't quite work for me. I think the other thing too is that this song, much like the intro had stated, that a lot of people aren't expressing themselves as they should be, and they're bottling it up, and it's destroying them from within. And we have a metaphor of suicide here in the chorus, something about feeling like you've been shot but not seeing a shooter and not seeing a gun. And so the damage is coming from within. That's the story here. You need to not be so closed off. You can't allow yourself to commit emotional suicide, basically, is what this track is about. And everyone's just dancing in a club with these rave lights. He's got a megaphone, and there's an electric guitarist, man. He looks real cool. And like, I don't know, there's a really big schism between what I think could be a really good message for people and the way it's delivered. The vehicle is mismatched for the track it's on. That metaphor doesn't work. But the vehicle for delivery, I think, is wrong for the message. Dude, it's just not working for me at all. And it sucks because, mental health is something that, at least in the West, is really common in a lot of mainstream musics, whether it's pop or rock or even alternative metal. But emotional health doesn't quite have that PR campaign behind it to get a lot of people on board with it yet. And this song kind of sits somewhere in the middle between mental and emotional health. And it could be a big anthem for that. And I think it just kind of falters a little bit, primarily because of the visuals accompanying it, but also looking at the lyrics themselves, I think there's just something a little off. And I do think, again, it comes down to English being probably a second language for this person, but the chorus it's not a great chorus lyrically. The concept behind it, I think, is fine. It's got shock value behind it, so I'm sure that's going to grab the attention of people who might need to hear it most. But the execution of it all is just not fantastic. It's not catchy. It's not an earworm. It repeats itself too often. Let's get into some lyrics on this, I suppose. All right, just double checked it. Zior Park is from South Korea. Oh, I forgot to check about religion in South Korea. I'll do that next time, I suppose. Yeah, this is kind of exactly what the previous skit had talked about. He kind of started to see himself, his dad in himself. When he looks in a mirror, he can see himself resembling more of his dad. This is a song about how his dad is his hero, to see his hero in the mirror. The first verse talks about how his hero has struggled for multiple decades, and he complains about his life, but that he doesn't get the feeling, our narrator doesn't get the feeling that his hero's life is valuable to the hero. And he kind of wants to make a song that says, dude, your life is awesome. Your life has been worth it. Stop complaining. Says he looked like a retired knight. Once he was a hero once upon a time, but now I can hear his sighs every holiday. The chorus says, but you gave me roots. See the branches you gave me? You said that you're a failure, but look, here's your masterpiece. You gave me tools, and I'm going to use those tools, so now I've got you. Let's finish what we've been struggling for. Yeah, it's a very heartfelt track. The second verse, though, is kind of interesting. Kind of attacks his hero. It says, why are you so mean to yourself? Why do you work as much as you do? Do you think money can solve everything? What's rich going to mean when you're dead? Are you going to be peaceful after that, at least? Is the afterlife going to be good for you? So I kind of get a little bit of the chastising, just kind of like, it's that hard love kind of thing where you just gotta give someone the truth. Try to get them to see the reality of the situation because you love them so much. But it feels a little too much of an attack here, more so than an intervention, possibly. But still the idea is, stop thinking about the numbers. Just spend some time with your life and celebrate life. And the chorus again says, look what you've done. Look all around you. Look at this life. Look at me. You gave me the tools I needed to get through life. So I think that's it's a great track right there. I like it. I really do. Okay, after reading the lyrics for Bullet, I am totally off of this track. Such a failed opportunity. Too, like I said, I think this is a really good track to explore this idea that the skit implied it would, and I think that the skit plus the chorus kind of works, but the chorus is clunky and the verses don't do anything to add to this. I really don't know what this song's trying to be. The first verse says, found some bullets in my pocket, but I ain't got no gun. I want to use it, but no manual. Don't even have a target. My family doesn't know me, and sometimes I don't need them. Fantastic track to follow up a song about loving your father. Says, the scar on my face is not that big, so they underrate it. What does that mean? Kids are laughing outside, but it's not a long time. Usually it turned into a scream at night. Breath out on my bed. Panic is my friend. Usually it makes me hear a lot of crying. I have noticed in the past that English just isn't always strong. The grammar isn't always great. This, I think, is the worst one, which is really interesting because it was released after Queen was. By about 3 months, was it? This came out in November 2023. Queen was September of 2023. So maybe about 2 months there. And it is night and day as far as an understanding of the English language. The pre-chorus, hands are so light at this night like a vampire. I have read that line 10 times. I don't get it at all. Hands so light at this night like a vampire. This idea of being a vampire comes up later too, and it's just, it is a weird one-off metaphor that doesn't show up anywhere except for here. It says, I'm fine, mom, don't knock. Here's a fight, angel versus devil. I don't stand on any side. What is all of this alluding to? Is it supposed to be wanting to live or not? The chorus says that there's a bullet on the floor and he's bleeding. Why is here? Am I shot? Here's nobody in this room, then who did? Did I just shoot myself? How did I use it? I didn't have a gun. Am I dying? I was about to have fun, but now I'm bleeding on the floor. Am I shot? It's a really clunky chorus, both syntax and grammar-wise, but also narrative-wise. Like, the idea kind of comes across that he is wounded and doesn't know why. But that is a really, the metaphor just isn't explored. It's just stated over and over and over and over and over again. And it doesn't allow the metaphor to bloom in any ways. It just states, here's some figurative language. You don't know what it means because it's kind of devoid of context. My context came from the previous skit, which I'm kind of wondering if that's on the album now. But since this comes from a different album than the other 3 tracks we've listened to, maybe not? In which case, I have to understand this track devoid of the skit's context, and I don't think the lyrics really push in any direction there. Again, I think that there's a really good idea behind this track. The execution is just fumbled. It is completely fumbled. It is, do I have another umble rhyme? I don't know, but maybe he needs to be humbled on this. I really wanted the lyrics to be great, and instead they are middling at best. The second verse is a neat one, poorly executed. It says, I can make different types of me. I'm a manufacturer. I can close my mouth all day for the people like a statue. I'm a pro killer, but to me disguised as an amateur. I'm a pro actor. My acting skill has a broad spectrum. The general idea being that this person can code switch really well and can look like whoever he needs to look like, or maybe more accurately act like whoever he needs to act like, depending on his company. And I guess there's an argument to be made that if I understood the intention, then it was written well, but it's just not written well. I'm a pro killer to me, but disguised as an amateur. The idea that he can kill off parts of himself so that they're not exposed when other people are around him. But disguised as an amateur, how? How are his acting skills? How does his acting skill have a broad spectrum? What does that mean? A wide range, maybe? Again, it's conveyed, but not conveyed well. Well enough for me to get it, but also well enough to see where it falters. The next stanza, though, hello, little kitty, I'm talking to the ceiling. Why do I look silly? Sometimes I miss Vicky. I'm not sure about this feeling. I hate bedtime. Maybe moonlight has a bad power. The only thing I get out of this is that his mind is reeling when he lays down at night. The moonlight has a bad power. It's like when he turns his screens off and he actually lays in bed and tries to sleep, his mind begins to process things and it just goes rapid fire. Now, I think a lot of this has to do with, if we go back to Queen, a hyperfixation on social media and never really allowing the mind to figure out what's going on in the day, never giving it time to process life. So when it does have time to just do things, it's doing everything. But of course, we don't explore that in this track. No, instead, nighttime is bad. And that's not even, I'm not even sure if that's actually what he's trying to aim for. Talking to the ceiling could be laying in bed, staring up at the ceiling. But why do I look silly? Who is Vicky? He's not sure about what feeling. He hates bedtime? Is that because his mind's processing? Like, again, it's so clumsily written. And what, hello, little kitty? What does that start with? I mean, is this supposed to be some sort of just rapid fire jumping between topics? Again, I think that works for the idea of processing the day, but dude, you're looking at the symptoms instead of the problem here. But where does this fit in with everything else? Is this about feeling overcharged or overstimulated by the day? Well, the rest of the track doesn't really bring that up at all. That's actually something that would work really good in the chorus. Maybe the bullet can be a metaphor for overstimulation, but they never explores that. I don't know, dude. This song has a good heart to it. And I think I'm so hard on it because I would have wanted to see it succeed. I really think another draft or two would have really led to greatness here, even if I still think the music is just the wrong vehicle for this message. I want the message to succeed. And I wish that there was an editor somewhere, that this went through a couple more iterations, revisions on it. It has a good heart, a decent bones. The foundation's a little shaky, and what was built on it just collapsed in on itself immediately. And that's just really disappointing. Really disappointing. All right. The next segment is called Rocket. Let's find out what track this is.
For the Sasquatch show today, a special guest has joined us. Shall we all call them together on the count of 3? Shall we all say Space C? 1, 2, 3. Space C!
All right, we definitely have a spacey sound. Okay, actually, I take that back. Bullet does appear on a future LP, but it also appears on this EP. random NASA logo on the bass drum. Yes, a strong sense of levity and a lack of gravity in this section. Nailed it. The lack of any of the instruments looking like they're playing what's being played cracks me up. It has to be a detail that was purposefully done. Is that even a bass? It sounds like a synth. Yeah, solid track right there. I think it captures what it wants to. It's a great contrast for the album too, bringing the energy quite a bit down. As far as timbre of instruments, they're all kind of rounded off a little bit, slightly muffled or muted, lots of reverb going on. So it's just not as bright or electrical as some of the other tracks have been. And you know, coming up on the 5th track of the album, there's only one left. We've pretty much had high to mid energy songs. So this one kind of being mid-low helps with the contrast and the general album pacing. Now, granted, I don't think album pacing is as necessary on an EP. I think if we take away the skits, we're looking at a 26 or 27 minute album. So, you know, you can kind of get away with less focus, but it's still nice to have some contrast on the album. And I'm glad that we got something here closer to a pop ballad. Maybe not a full-on ballad. There's still a lot of energy to this, particularly in the composition with those jumps from the low notes to the high notes. That works well with the theming, but it also keeps the energy a bit higher, the momentum pushing forward, and it keeps people interested generally. But it is something that brings energy down and works well here in the track. I might have liked it a little earlier in the album, but still, I mean, there's 6 tracks. There's not a lot of manipulation you can do on the track listing there. As for the goals of this song, once again, we are looking at foundation primarily given to us from the bass and the synth. We have the drums giving us rhythm and the vocals giving us melody. And that's really it. We do have a distorted electric guitar off to the left. I think it was the left. In the chorus, this helps fill the sound out. It makes it feel larger, which works really well with the sort of elongated sounds, the legato tones that are played everywhere else. It makes it feel larger than life, while the rest of the instruments can focus on levity, because that electric guitar has weight to it. It wants to ground the song more, but everything else is focusing on lightness. And so it balances out really well. And that's pretty much it for this track. It is a focus on an optimistic vibe that wants to look at levity, which I think is really interesting because whenever I think of a sound like this, for some reason I think of Katy Perry, who for the longest time did these types of songs really well. Sort of, semi-ballad, but still uplifting and powerful and full of levity, just not a lot of seriousness to it, and a way of like letting go. And I think the lyrics, I saw a couple, like we're going to the moon, and moon was one of those ones of like moon, kind of like pushing into the falsetto range. Ignore, well, or laugh, I suppose, at my poor singing. I like how the themes of space, which right off the bat, I mean, we had super sci-fi synthy tones, so it really set the stage from like a pop culture timbre to theme comparison there. That worked really well, but then creating these feelings of levity with the moon, which has lower gravity, and then incorporating that into the visuals with the, I don't know what you would call it, a lifting kit? The way that they can lift people into the air on the wires, or to incorporate that in here in the NASA suits. Like, once again, I think there's a nice synergy between everything visually and audibly, the music side of things. It really just, Bullets is such an outlier here where it just doesn't fit, man. But it is easily digestible, thematically synergistic, and fine to listen to. It's another track that parts of me wish were a little bit more embellished. It doesn't even need to get into like a prog pop territory or anything like that. It just feels incredibly minimal, to the point of almost being invisible, which I think is interesting because we had actually explored some of this earlier in the track. In this album, Queen was about being, vibrant so that no one could ignore you. And then the track 2 was like, everybody ignores me. And I think the minimal music worked really well for that. But for a track like Queen, I really think more layers would have done that one really well. More embellishing parts. And it's just got to be like techno ornamentation, or sorry, electronic ornamentation. They already have a lot of electronic layers. Just add more cool things in there, make it more interesting, give it that ear candy. And I think a track like this might not have benefited too much from that approach, but even just some harmony, incorporating the guitar into the verse, just a slightly more interesting drum part. You can lighten it up in the chorus, absolutely. You want that halftime feel to kind of create this levity, but bring it back down, root it back down in the verse, which I think is what it wanted to do, but it never quite really got there. It just felt less than. So maybe thematically that's going to line up. Let's dive into that and find out. And as you might have been able to guess from the optimistic music and the space theme, this is about shooting for the stars, because anything less is not worth attaining. It says that our narrator or our lyricist has big dreams in mind. They feel like they're made for something larger. They might as well go for it. The pre-chorus says, I've always wondered what's in the box that no one opened. I'm pulled by some power and it feels like a magnet. The chorus says, I'm chasing the light and I don't care. They must have lied because this is the pioneer's duty. The rocket is booming and heading to the moon and I'm chasing the stars and I don't care how far they are away from me. I'm just proving that I want something new. Just going out there, swinging, seeing how far you get. And I think that works well with this track. Verse 2 says, I was born like this. Maybe God put a special chip in my heart. There's nothing that can explain this phenomenon without it. This reminded me to look this up. South Korea is massively Christian. Now, granted, it's only 30% of their population that identifies as it, but it's also the leading religion by like 12 points. The next one, which I think was Buddhism, was at like 18%. So 1 in every 3 South Koreans is Christian. That's pretty big. I had no idea. So having the God and the devil and church within this album begins to make a little bit more sense now that I have that context. It says, but I need to wake my brain up, and like a rocket, my body is just for the start. Just got to head out, got to do what I'm going to do. The bridge says, I'm not sure what'll happen when I get there. Am I just going to flash out or become a star? He says, but what I do know is I am the signal. I don't know what he means by that. And then we bring the chorus back that says he's just chasing the stars. He's got to do it. It's what's in his heart. I think this generally works. This type of lyrical theme could go in a few different ways. This could have been very anthemic, sort of like a rock anthem, but instead they went for a poppy sort of anthem. It is powerful, it is empowering, it is optimistic, but it is on the lighter side too. It isn't very driven. So they went for the Levity angle, which I think works well with this space theme. Tying ideas together in a slightly less direct manner, but still certainly cohesive. All right, we're going to wrap this up on the final track then. Let's dive in, see what's going on.
How? What must I do to recover from trauma?
Have you heard of the story Eurydice and Orpheus? Hades told Eurydice that if she wants to save her husband, then she must never look back until she gets out of hell. I think it's the same circumstance. You should keep walking forward, even if you want to look back.
Yeah, but that's the hardest thing.
But you know, there's nothing I can do. I can only stand beside you because I can leave you to walk alone in the darkness.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Reckon, bro.
I don't even know. Walking through darkness. Okay, so this did end up being the whole Where Does the Sasquatch Live Part 2 EP. Bullets just ended up getting reused on another album as well.
You don't know how to forget about it. Even if there's no way I can help you, I'm just holding your hand.
Full on bout. So we brought the energy down for the end of this album? Like all the way down?
There are voices that you only can hear, you can't tell me about it. We're working on the fine.
Did we ever find the Sasquatch? I mean, he was right there at the beginning. But did he ever find the Sasquatch?
But I know you still love me. But how could a last moment be like this? Looking at the light outside, it's not that far from us. We could go through this darkness that disturbs us. Looking at the exit there, it's not that far from us. Just take a step carefully, just take a breath. We walking through the darkness. Don't look back while you read on. I can hold on. I don't even know I can let you go like others. Do you know how cold I was? Look at these melting frozen hands. Look at these melting frozen feet. You made it all, but how could you live like this? Do I look like I'm selfish? Maybe you're right, can't fix this. If I had one more chance, then I wasn't lie. Looking at the light outside, it's not the
But big drum. It's interesting to hear so many more modern influences, and then to wrap up on this obviously 90s inspired track.
For you to forget the past, but we're progressing if you didn't notice. There are traces behind us proving it. Do you think it'd be easy to forget the past? I'm walking through the darkness.
We have now come to the end. The man realized that what he was looking for all this time has now all become meaningless. His search to find the unimaginable was overshadowed by the process itself. That does not mean he's going to give up looking for Sasquatch. He'll keep looking. But the people and things he met during his search had become more precious to him. After this realization, he returned to his home, where everyone welcomed him with love and joy, as the beloved naughty boy.
What? No, seriously. What? I had actually forgotten about this frame story of this person reading about someone who was looking for Sasquatch because, I don't know, people were like hounding them and they went in search for this beast for some reason. I don't remember the setup in great detail, apparently. because none of the songs were about that. None of the visuals were about that. We had a frame story, then told something completely different, and then brought the frame story back. If I was one of those kids, I'd be so lost. Not to mention, it's either really cheeky or just an incredible troll to introduce the Sasquatch at the very beginning of this play, and there's Sasquatch feet in the Hero in the Mirror set, but they went to the moon. They had NASA suits on. Were they looking for Sasquatch in space? Sasquatch in space. What was the story? Okay, I got to get off this because it is really infuriating. There's no narrative thread here. We got to get on the music. Music. Okay, this is very clearly 90s ballad. The strings, the quasi-chambery elements, all of it. It's very uplifting, very positive, but also stuff I've heard a million times before, which I guess is pretty common throughout this. This album is very iterative of Western pop music, which is really interesting too, because, South Korea is kind of known for a strong pop scene. K-pop is kind of a big deal right now. And I find it really interesting that this album basically doesn't look at any inspiration from there at all. Whereas K-pop tends to sound very fresh to my ears because of a lot of the genre bending and wide palette of inspiration that it tends to have, this seems to be narrowly focused on a general 90s to early 2010s Western pop music. Particularly to me, there's a lot of US pop music in there, but I guess there's a couple of like British pop artists that I can hear influenced in here as well, or that were influencing this album. But it's still very Western focused, where I don't really feel that way with the K-pop scene, which is very interesting. But this track in particular is almost a beat for beat 90s uplifting ballad track, complete with the swells, with the strings and bells and piano all dancing around each other. As far as layers go, this is, while not, I think in the grand scheme of things, a very maximalist song, incredibly layered and more maximal than anything else on this album. It stands out, I think, with having the best composition, though it is also very iterative too. In fact, parts of this sounded like other songs that I just couldn't quite put my finger on, and that hasn't been something that I have felt consistently through this album. A lot of this has a bit of inspirations being worn on the sleeve, where I can clearly say, oh, this feels like a song another artist might have done. I can feel that inspiration here, but for this track in particular, it just directly feels like specific 90s ballads to me. I just wish I had a better memory for some of those. Maybe I could pick out specific details here, but there's parts of this I'm just, no, I've heard this song before. It's kind of wild, but obviously not with these vocals on it. But I do love the way everything interconnects. I love the swells. I love the dynamics on this. The larger than life drums, the rolls that we have on them as we rise in volume, have these really big, these big swells on them accompanied with the strings. And it just feels so big. And every single chord, every single note is optimistic. It's powerful. It's projected. You can hear the soft parts where there's a bit more vulnerability, and then it gets to the big parts and there's a ton of projection and a lot of sound, and it's just very big. And when you pair that with the overall chordal movements throughout this, it ends up feeling very anthemic, something to lift you up and make you feel better. Which is exactly why this music showed up so much in the 90s. I feel like it was a counter to the sort of cynical aggression and counterculture that we were seeing in movements like grunge and alt rock. I think this was the pop scene kind of way to push against that. It does feel very out of place here, and what originally I thought was a ridiculously low energy track, a wild way to wrap this album up, actually ends up being incredibly explosive towards the end, just in a very non-dancey way like the rest of the album has been. And I think it ends up being a really strong finale to this album. We actually see more variety within the vocalist as well, lots of falsetto in here, and a wide range between softer voices, very airy and ethereal, held close to the chest, the more projected stuff, the bravado, some nice vibrato in there as well. It's a really well done track. Iterative, but well done. Let me hit some lyrics on this one. All right. Unfortunately, I have another track where I'm just a little confused about what it's trying to say. I feel like most of this track is about helping a friend through dark times. As the skit mentioned, sometimes to get through the darkness, you just need to keep going through it. The rest of this track seems to be confused about that, never got the message, and there's a feeling of being left behind, of not having friends to help you through this, and also the entire parallel between this story and the tragedy of Orpheus and Eurydice doesn't really work strongly at all. It's a really weird parallel to draw here. We'll get to that in a second, though. The opening verse says, "You don't know how to forget about it. Even if there's no way I can help you, I'm just holding your hand." I think that's great. Someone who's there for you, even if they don't know how to help, just to have a sort of, to make it so that you don't feel alone. And I like that. Even if there's no way I can help you, I'm just holding your hand. The pre-chorus says, "We're walking on the fine line. We could fall down to the darkness, but we can't go back." Do I look like I'm selfish? But I know you still love me. But how could our last moment be like this? It's a really bizarre twist here. I've got you. We're good. I don't know how we're going to get out of this, but we're in this together. All right. And we're just going to keep going forward and we'll see what happens. Am I selfish? It's a really bizarre question to tack on to the end of this very heartwarming idea here. It says, "Looking at that light outside, it's not that far from us. We could go through this darkness that disturbs us. Looking at the exit there, it's not that far. Just take a step carefully. Just take a breath." Okay, getting out of this isn't that difficult. We just need to do it. Take a breath, take that first step, let's go. That's what really makes the "do I look like I'm selfish" line stand out to me. It is pocketed in the middle and has no bearing on what came before it or after. It does imply a bit of doubt, but that's not explored in this track at all. So I don't really know. We're going to skip the chorus. The second verse says, "I don't know how to get you out of there." I will say, though, the second chorus has them escaping the darkness. I'll just ignore it for now. "I don't know how to get you out of there. Will you be all right if I'm forever gone from your life? I don't know how long I can hold on. I don't even know why I can't let you go like the others. Do you know how cold I was? Look at these melting frozen hands and feet. How could you leave me like this? Do I look like I'm selfish? Maybe you're right. Maybe this can't be fixed. But if I had one more chance, I would say, look at the light outside. It's not that far. We could get through it if we take a step carefully and take a breath." What does this stanza mean? We're going to look at the chorus in a second, and I tell you, it's about two people escaping the darkness together. The first verse is about two people escaping the darkness together. The second verse is, "Why did you leave me alone?" Nothing else in the track goes through this. Everything else is optimistic. It's about getting through dark times together. But not the second verse. I find that really interesting. It does make the final line land a little better. There is a bridge where there's just a repetition of walking through the darkness, which is a phrase from the chorus. It's just said over and over and over, and it feels like this is the journey. The strings are swelling up around it. We're getting through this. The emotional resonance is increasing in brightness. Just keep walking through the darkness. Then we have a big chorus again, and then the stage is empty, the lights are down, and in a very depressed manner, Zior Park sings, "I'm walking through the darkness." Okay, so he got left behind. That final line makes sense only pertaining to the second verse. Everything else in the track is about uplifting each other, pulling us through the darkness. I really don't get it. If it happened at the end of the track, we could have some sort of narrative movement of him helping someone else, but that person leaving and not helping them through their own darkness. And this can reflect what we saw on track 2, which was about people leaving him and him wanting a social support system within his life. But it doesn't. Right up until the end, it's we're going to get through this together, and then he isn't. And so the narrative of the story is full of highs and lows. They're together, then they're not. Then they're together, and they're not. Is that supposed to show a relationship? I don't know. Nothing explores that. It's a really bizarre structural choice here. Now, the chorus says, "We're walking through the darkness and don't look back, my Eurydice. We're walking through the darkness. Please tell the truth to Hades." We're going to go over this real quick. The myth of Orpheus and Eurydice is that they were together, and then Eurydice dies and goes to Hades, and Orpheus journeys into Hades, getting past Cerberus and Charon. Is that the name of the ferryman to get into Hades? And he gets all the way to an audience with Hades and why am I blanking out on Hades' wife's name? The one who comes back to the earth for half the year. Anyways, he sings a song. He's got his little lute, and he sings a song of just pure beauty. And Hades is like, okay, you obviously love this girl, so leave Hades. Go all the way back to the mortal realm. Don't look back. When you leave Hades, when you step out of it, Eurydice will be with you. But if you look back, she stays here. And this idea of just going through the darkness and never looking back is about temptation. It's about wondering if you've been lied to or not. Orpheus doesn't know if Hades is keeping his word, and he doesn't hear any footsteps behind him. The tragedy is that as he's right about to leave, he does look over his shoulder, sees Eurydice there. Eurydice falls back into Hades, and he's left to go back to the mortal world without her. There's more to this story, but I think the idea of just walking forward, this is all that really pertains to it. So when the chorus says, "Don't look back, my Eurydice," what does that mean? Obviously, in the narration, our lyricist, our vocalist is Orpheus. Orpheus is the one who's not supposed to look back. Then it says, "Please tell the truth to Hades." What truth are we telling to Hades? The rest of the chorus says, "We're walking through the darkness. You can only flip this dice." I have no idea what that means. I assume it's rolling the dice, but even then we're talking about probability. We're talking about luck. We're talking about chance. There is no luck in this narrative. The idea is just keep going forward. And in fact, that's what he says even after this in the lyrics. It says, "Don't look back. Now we're safe. No worries. I've got your back. If you're scared, just say my name and keep walking forward." There's no gamble here. The idea is just to keep going. That's how we're going to get through it. So what is this flipping up the dice? There's another line in here that's a bit odd to me. It says, "You can only save us from here." Now, in the tale, that is true. Orpheus is the only one who can save, well, Eurydice at least. Orpheus is going to get out of Hades one way or the other. But the only way he can save her is to not look back. But the roles here don't match that. The chorus states that the other person is my Eurydice and that she is going to be the only one that can save us from here. But most of this track is about how I'm going to help you through your darkness. Just 2 lines later, "No worries, I've got your back. If you're scared, just say my name." So I'm really confused about what this song is trying to say specifically. It has little dashes of a lot of ideas, but the spices, the flavors aren't coming together into a cohesive whole. Are they helping each other? Is she going to help him? Is she the only way to help him? I thought he was helping her. Are they together? Are they not? Why is he alone at the end? Is this a song about walking through your own darkness, or is this a song about helping others through theirs? It's kind of all of them and none of them. And it also uses a failed parallel to a well-established myth, not really understanding what the actual story was about there and how that would apply to a song about this. It's just not great. Which is absolutely wild when musically I think it's my favorite from the album so far. But man, did they drop the ball on the lyric writing. I feel like this is a case where maybe another person in the editor's room might have helped, but also maybe more experience. I don't know how many songs Zior Park has written, how much experience they have with writing lyrics. I don't know how much experience they have with lyrics being edited. Maybe they are a bedroom producer. This was pretty high quality for bedroom production as far as videos go. But anyways, assume that they are like a bedroom producer. They have no one to really give them criticism or feedback. They just keep pumping stuff out. And maybe they haven't had a chance to learn how to write better lyrics, though I will say that many other tracks on this album had stronger, more focused lyric sets to them. I have found a little bit of a scattershot approach to lyrics where there's usually a really strong idea and then kind of flounders in other stanzas, but I think this is probably the weakest one so far as just kind of missing the mark. Though I guess Bullet does line up with that too. That is a really underwhelming track lyrically. I guess that's where this is going to wrap up. I found this to be an interesting album, but lyrically I wanted more, and musically it's what I've heard before. I guess the most interesting part is the visual component, but even the story told there left me wanting more as well. I'm just fairly underwhelmed by this entire thing, even if I enjoyed my time through it. It's not something I disliked, but I doubt I'll ever come back to this. These are my thoughts, though, on Zior Park's Where Does Sasquatch Live Part 2. What did you think of this album? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Do you have your own take, perspective, or opinion on this? Let me know. Put all of that in the comments section along with anything else you'd like to add. Above that, in the description box, is a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all 3 of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.